Howdy, Oklahoma. Welcome to Around the Block on this Tuesday. Another wet and dreary day, but we, I guess, always need the rain. There's to a point. But yeah, on Thursday, we're actually going to have possible flooding in some areas. So be weather aware on Thursday. Turn around, don't drown, all those good things. Do you like the rain, Jacqueline?
I love it. I love it so much. Yesterday, as soon as I left here, went home, opened all the windows in my house, and I'm in rain mode.
Rain mode. That is so nice that to be able to smell it, the rain on the inside. And even though sometimes it smells like wet concrete, that's just like such a comforting smell.
I know. I don't know. I love the way my whole house will change to that smell probably by the time I get home this evening. So I'm excited.
You know what else is the best is when you turn on the heater for the first time.
Yes.
And that smell of the heat coming through, which is probably just a whole bunch of dust.
It totally is. It is probably bad for us.
I know, all the mites and parasitic things in the air, but hey, it smells good and it's comforting. So we're happy to have the rain today, and we're happy you're here on Around the Block. Didn't introduce myself. I'm Heather Holman. Jacqueline Ferris is my co-host today. We do have a couple of guests coming on after this break. We're going to talk to someone very important in Oklahoma City, two people actually, who are bringing about a new guest speaker series involving different Oklahomans, different topics related to Oklahomans, and you get to participate, and we will tell you how to do that, and we'll introduce you to them after the first break. We do want to get to really quickly something that we talk about a lot, and that is statues along Route 66, because there's always something new, and this one is so cool. I love it. 66-foot tall dinosaur. How cool is that? And they're leaving the trees, so it's going to peek up through these trees, which I think is phenomenal. We've talked about the new spaceman in Weatherford, the blue whale in Catoosa, of course, it's been there. We've talked about the red boot, and now they're trying to find new places for the red boot. But now we can add this really tall 66-foot, because it's Route 66, dinosaur to the list. It's Howard Park in West Tulsa along the Mother Road that we'll get to see this. Can you imagine all of the kids, especially little boys who love dinosaurs so much, getting ready to take their picture with this? I mean,
I know. It's so cool.
You would have to be all the way as the parent across the park to get the whole dinosaur in there. I think that's awesome.
I think it's awesome, and I really think we need to just start planning a road show where we go, you and I want to go see all of these stops. I want to see all of these statues, and I want our photos taken, especially with this dinosaur.
So how many days would you take on vacation to be able to do that?
Well, I want to see all the Oklahoma ones. The ones traveling east, traveling west out of the state. Those aren't my top tier bucket list items.
So you would do it all in one day?
I don't think you could.
I don't think you could either.
I think it would take maybe a 4-day weekend to enjoy it. Maybe.
Yeah, because you'd have to make stops.
Yeah, at all the cool places in these towns.
And then you want to boost the local economy. So you want to like have lunch there, dinner there, breakfast there, whatever it may be. Do some shopping there. I love antique shopping. So my deal is I would go antique shopping at each one of these stops.
Me too. That would be what I would want to do as well.
That's my thing. I try to find the weird things. And I love that this is weird. That's probably why I love it.
I think it's so cool and so weird and awesome.
But it really, really is. I wish something like this had been around when we were kids, but at least, our kids, future kids, all current kids will get to see it if you live in Oklahoma. I think that is so much fun. They'll also have walking trails, and lights will be added there as well. And so, once completed, the dinosaur should be the tallest dino statue in the entire U.S.
That's so cool.
Here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it too. Very cool. You know what else is cool?
What?
We often rank near the bottom of the list, Oklahoma, as far as different, whatever it may be, surveys are concerned. This one we ranked near the top. This is a good thing. Yeah. Oklahoma ranks high for hardest workers in America. And if you think about it, it makes sense. We have a lot of oil workers out in the field. That is a hard job. That's like back-breaking labor. So is farming, construction. So lots of people working very hard jobs, but very hard workers, also dedicated workers, no matter what it is that you do, just dedication. So it's a Wallet Hub study, and it shows we're number 14 in America. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
For states with the hardest workers. And then when you break down the numbers, we're number 8 when it comes to average work hour weeks, which means we work long hours.
I would agree with that. Just across the state, so many hard workers. Yes.
Absolutely. Here's I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, but After that, we're 19th in the employment rate, also good. 20th in the share of workers with multiple jobs,
Mm,
and
yeah.
25th when it comes to volunteer hours. Okay,
That's cool.
that's great.
Yeah.
So, in case you're wondering, North Dakota, Alaska, South Dakota, Texas, and Hawaii are the top 5 hardest working states. It makes me wonder about Hawaii.
You
Why?
know, so I went through this and really thought, I bet that was because of the cost of living and it's so expensive. I bet that is another
Yeah.
situation where it's multiple jobs for one person.
That could make sense too. Yeah.
But
That does make sense.
I am curious.
But we do have so many hard workers here in Oklahoma. And I mean, if you think about it, like, so we have every state has this. I get it. But like we do lots of our soil creates jobs in itself. Plumbing is always an issue. Our hard clay soil, things of that nature, construction, foundation repair. I mean, so I would not think that those jobs are easy. In fact, I was on my way into work today and I saw a man trimming trees in the rain.
No way.
And I'm like, thank God that we have indoor jobs because it's rainy, it's cold in the winter, hot in the summer, and I have a true respect for people who do work outdoors. That is hard work.
That is absolutely hard work. And my biggest takeaway from this survey was how fantastic Oklahomans are at volunteering and stepping up and just helping our neighbors, which that does not surprise me that we ranked so well in volunteerism.
Yes. I mean, we have huge hearts. What can I say? We're Oklahoma.
Oklahoma Standard.
That's right. And so we help out where and when we can. And that's one thing that I love about Oklahomans. Like if you see somebody on the street who's suffering in Oklahoma, we're going to go up and say, are you okay?
Oh, totally.
You know, there are some states where they'd be like, too bad for you and keep right on walking. So I love that about Oklahoma. It's so friendly. And when I moved away for 8 years to Las Vegas, I mean, you did not talk to people in the grocery store line. No. You didn't make eye contact. I mean, I would because I'm like a native Oklahoman. Hey, how you doing?
Or holding the door open for people. I noticed when I traveled to the East Coast many, many years ago, I'm the type of person that always finds myself opening the door for others or just making a point to be courteous in those interactions. And that was very bizarre for people that I was like, oh, let me get that for you.
I know. And they're like,
the common courtesy.
They're like, what planet is this?
Right.
What year is this?
They're like startled almost that it startled them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. I see that all the time. Because Oklahomans, we're cool like that. We're friendly.
Best.
What can we say? Yes, we're number 1. We're number 14. We're number 14 for hardest workers. Okay, but we'll take it. That's good. Water at Rose State College has tested positive for the bacteria that causes Legionella disease. It's Legionella, Legionnaire's disease, I should say. Legionella is the bacteria that they found, and they went ahead proactively and tested the water there because sadly, not too far away at a rest home, a person was killed by Legionnaire's disease.
Oh, goodness.
Typically, it does spread through water. So Rose State tested this. They've done lots of things to go ahead and mediate this, to nip it in the bud. So it is less than a mile away from where the man died at the nursing home, senior living facility, sadly. Because of that, so the college just stepped in immediately. They found elevated levels of Legionella bacteria. So they took immediate action. In fact, over the weekend, the college flushed all campus lines, including draining all water tanks, and worked with the city of Midwest City to flush all the fire hydrants, too. That's something you don't think about. Showers in the wellness center have also been shut down for right now. But the campus does remain open. Officials say it is safe, and they will continue with their follow-up testing.
Well, I think it's really, I love that they were so proactive because, it could have been dangerous, could have been a different story. They could have had sickness, but I love that Rose State saw the commonalities in their area and got ahead of that.
Yeah, staying on top of it for sure. Keeping all our kids and faculty safe there in Midwest City. All right, when we come back, we're going to introduce you to 2 guests who are making a big difference in Oklahoma. We'll tell you about that coming up. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Around the Block. We have a guest today, Kathy Story. She is the Executive Director of Creative Oklahoma with a new initiative coming out involving guest speakers. We're super excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Yes, so tell
Appreciate
us
being here.
about, we're glad you're here. Tell us about the Imagine and Inspire speaker series that you have coming up.
Thank you. Yes, we are launching the Imagine and Inspire Speaker Series, launching actually this Thursday, August 28th. There's a series of 4 dates, 4 phenomenal speakers throughout the year. The reason why we're putting this speaker series out, of course, is to, first of all, put some awareness back out there about Creative Oklahoma and instilling that creative thinking process in educational programming. So we thought we'd start with the speaker series. The speaker series will embody speakers, feature speakers that embody Oklahoma's pioneering spirit, who shares their stories to relate that to local relevance and innovation, and demonstrating how creative thinking can drive progress in individuals.
Sure. And so, it is very creative. I love that you're doing this. I mean, hence your name, Creative Oklahoma. I love that you're bringing this speaker series. And for each speaker that we hear upcoming, what do you want the viewers, the listeners to take away?
Well, I think what we really want the takeaway is to really kind of embracing the importance of creative thinking within our workforce, our workplace. And so I think by attending these, our goal is to have folks walk away with little nuggets of something that they can implement into their career, their workforce, maybe their college student. We're appealing to a lot of audiences right now. But our long-term goal is that we'll focus more on younger professionals. And so with Bart speaking this Thursday, his talk is about collaboration and action and igniting what hasn't yet been imagined.
Yes, we're talking about Bart Connor, the one and only, on Thursday, 2 days from right now. Watch this. I mean, just a pro boom. So it's just so fun to look back at this. I love watching old videos like this, but especially when it involves an Oklahoma. And he's done so much. He's accomplished so much over the years. His heart remains here in Oklahoma with everything. So, what do you imagine that he'll be speaking about? Any idea yet?
I do actually, and while he does, of course, bring his legendary award-winning story with him, he'll be talking about, just as the title of his talk entails, is collaboration and action, and how just one idea sparks a conversation, and over time, imagining, not imagining what could really progress in Oklahoma City, and has 20 years later.
Sure.
And so that's what he'll be bringing, along with not just him, but once he talks and shares his story, we'll have a roundtable discussion with Mike Knopp from Riversport, Michael Burns with Team OKC 28, and also Aaron Lewis with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
So it's not just one speaker. We'll also get to hear panelists. This is so exciting. And it must have taken a while for you all to really assemble it, come up with the vision, put it all together. And so let's talk about the second speaker now that you have on the calendar for November 13th, Arshay Cooper.
Yes, Arshay Cooper is, what I understand, is he is the first on the first high school black rowing team. And he has written a few books. He's a mentor to many of our youth and has a very inspiring story himself, having a challenging upbringing. And then his talk will be about how I think using all of the resources you have and moving forward and knowing that you can progress in, whatever background that you come from.
I've done a story with Arshay before. He's so inspirational.
Well, we can't wait to see him.
Yes. And I also volunteers his time as well with some of the kids. That's what the story was about, taking some African-American kids and showing them that you too can do what I've done.
For sure.
Very inspiring. Next on the list, the third speaker, February 19th, Hal Smith. We love his restaurants.
We do. He is a fascinating person to speak to, and his rise in the restaurant world is incredible. When you speak to him, you'll hear his story. When you see him, you'll hear his story. But collaboration with heart really is Hal Smith, and the way that he went about business from the very first time that he was employed at Around the Corner, I think, in Norman, back in his early college days. So we're excited to have him. He'll be speaking at OSU Stillwater at the Wes Watkins Center.
Okay. And so so these are designed every few months, right?
Yes, every quarter.
Okay, every quarter. And so the final quarter that you have planned right now is Michael Wallace, Creativity Through Literature, a journey with Michael Wallace.
Yes, he is also an Oklahoman and an award-winning journalist, historian. He wrote Route 66, The Mother Road. I think that there's probably many authors of Route 66, but his in particular, Route 66, The Mother Road, uh, uh, he has published. And from what I understand, with the centennial next year, 2026, of Route 66, there'll be a new printing of that. So he will be at OSU Tulsa and will be interesting.
Do you have to be a member of Creative Oklahoma to attend these?
Oh, no, of course not. We have the registration live on our website. You can register at any time for any one of the sessions, and we look forward to seeing as many faces as possible. We're trying to reintroduce ourselves, and we invite everybody to come out.
When you say reintroduce yourselves, what do you mean by that?
Well, we were established in '06, so we do have a legacy of programming with the former founders, Susan McCalmont and John McCarroll. His background is economic development. And so I think through this process of creating Creative Oklahoma and also utilizing the relationship with Sir Ken Robinson, who was their original, our founding advisor, they created programming, also brought the World Creativity Forum here to Oklahoma, and other mentorship programs, a creative communities, which involved the collaboration of many to help smaller towns accomplish maybe problem solving, to maybe have more tourism come to their town. And so at her time of her retirement in 2019, we also were entering COVID. We had some leadership changes. So we've had a few years of inactivity. So we are coming back. I was hired last year, and we've spent much time getting kind of reorganized and working on our speaker series. And then we'll have some long-term planning goals as well as to how to really hone in on that educational piece and how we can make that of value to young professionals in our community.
Okay. Wonderful organization, 501c3, correct?
Yes.
And so if people want to get involved in the speaker series, to attend, to listen, they can register at creativeok.org, right?
That's correct.
Okay, Kathy, thank you so much for being here. We think this is phenomenal, and I can't wait to hear what Bart has to say in 2 days, Thursday. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, when we come back, we're going to talk to Mike Knopp. He's got he's a big wig in Oklahoma, I'll just tell you that. And he's going to talk about the speaker series as well and what he has to do with it right after this break. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Around the Block. Look who we have here, Mr. Mike Knopp. This is a pleasure, just like it was to have Kathy Story on right before the break, talking about the speaker series upcoming for Creative Oklahoma. Mike is a board member for Creative Oklahoma and the executive director for the River Sport Foundation. So you do a lot. You are so busy. First of all, thank you for making time to come see us.
No, it's always great to come out to KFOR, and we just really appreciate the partnership through the years.
Yeah. Yes, and you have truly a passion for river sport. And so, you're the executive director of the foundation itself. You've been here to oversee all of the things that have happened. Tell us about your passion for river sport, sure. OKC, and what all has happened over the years. What all have we seen from nothing to all of this?
Really, I'm the founder. It's kind of my embracing this new role of focusing on the Olympics now, which is amazing to think that we're going to actually get to be a part of the Los Angeles Olympic Games here in just a few years, 3 years. But, I think back in the day when I started, the river was really not much. It was a ditch. There was yes. there was not a lot going on, and I had always envisioned the idea of having an active riverfront, and so just a real passion of mine, and got to know other people who had similar passions. Ray Ackerman comes to mind. Ron Norick, people who were really instrumental in the original MAPS project. And I always felt, just add water and we can do some really great things here in Oklahoma City. And it started with a boathouse, and and there's just a lot of stories through the years of how that's evolved into positioning Oklahoma City as one of the premier urban aquatic venues in the world. And now that we get to be hosting a world championship next year and then on to the Olympics, it's unbelievable, to consider where we started.
That's one of my questions for you is when you started with this ditch
Mm-hmm.
and, you
Yeah.
had this in mind, this idea of like possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
of dreams. And then it turns into something like this.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Olympic trials in the past. We're going to
Yeah.
have the Olympics actually here, like you said, in 3 years. Did you ever dream that it would get this big?
Well, it would be hard for me to say I thought we'd get the Olympics, because that was really unprecedented to think that Oklahoma City could be part of the Olympic Games. However, I would say that through the years, we always committed ourselves to what I call the Olympic standard. A lot of people they use that phrase a lot in the Olympic world, and for me, it was like when we build a facility, we build a boathouse, we create a program. I just really got invested in this idea of connecting Oklahoma City to the Olympic movement. We became, as you mentioned, we had Olympic trials. We've hosted a few Olympic trials now, but
Mhm.
we also became an Olympic training site just a few years after being a ditch. So it was really kind of unique that we advanced, in the Olympic circles like we did. And I just always felt like that was an important statement to make about Oklahoma City and our commitment to, building out this waterfront and how it can be used to inspire people to get involved on the water. I mean, we've got so many kids now rowing and paddling and leagues, adults, and so it was just our little part of trying to also advance kind of that outdoor health and wellness culture here as well. So,
And I love that. And it's not just these huge things that you've done. It's also the little things. You all had an event there a few weeks ago that I
mhm.
thought was so creative. It was a float in movie nights.
Yeah.
How fun is that?
Well, we really want to make it's something for everyone at the river, and yes, those are always very popular. We realized that when we first started, and we showed Jaws, and people love that. Just floating and watching that movie, and then and certainly has evolved from there. But a lot of other things we've done. It was really exciting just a few weeks ago, partnering with the Oklahoma City Black Alumni Coalition and having what they call the River Bowl. It ended up actually being the largest ever African American led and rowing event in the
Wow.
country. So, just in great thanks to Shantae Alexander and others that were involved in that project. But it really all comes down to making the river a place that brings people together. And really, we have always seen our boathouses as kind of like lighthouses. I mean, it's like a thing that drives and building a culture around our riverfront. Because, as I've said for many years, I think when you look at the great cities in the world, usually they have a river or they have a lake, or they're tied to the water. And so I think for us it's been about how do we make the river part of our Oklahoma City culture.
So, with as far as we've already come since you started all of this, where do you see us in the next few years, the
Mhm.
next few decades? What else do you see happening?
Well, I mean, boy, the Olympics is going to open up so many possibilities and opportunities. I've consulted with friends who've been involved in other, the Atlanta Olympics, and how they say after the Olympics in Atlanta, it really transformed the city. It was already a big city, but it became truly global and really taught them how to do really big things. And so I think it will open up many doors for us. I mean, certainly as we're passionate about in expanding this throughout the state, getting kids, getting the public on the water, getting involved in water sports, but also beyond that, what other big things can we do as a community? But it doesn't get much greater than getting to host the Olympic Games. So
Right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of hard to
yeah,
top,
yeah.
but maybe every 4 years,
No, there.
maybe they'll come back. You guys need to get Hal Smith on board, one of the speakers in the upcoming series, to open some restaurants along the Oklahoma River
Yes,
too.
I think that's all part of the big picture.
The big
Yes,
picture.
yeah.
Okay. So, in Kathy's press release, Kathy Story, who was on right before the break with Creative Oklahoma, she was talking about the different speakers and so forth. Bart Connor, of course, is the first in 2 days. You will be on a panel of
Hmm.
experts, I should say, to also speak to the people. But what Kathy called you in the press release, I thought was a very cool title. She called you an Oklahoma change maker.
Oh,
And I think that is such a privilege to have a title like that. How does that, I mean, you're going to have to release some of your humility here, but
oh
what
boy.
is it? How does it feel to be called an Oklahoma changemaker?
Well, we've been fortunate in Oklahoma. We have a lot of people that I think could carry that title. It is humbling, but I would say, I mean, part of it was just being able to communicate to people. Back in the days, as I said, when it was a ditch, the river was a ditch. I was like really trying to convey, well, it was a straight ditch, and it was, there was a possibility for us to be world class and probably the last thing we ever thought of. And so I think part of it is not just having an idea, but how to execute and how to get people behind this idea, which was a big idea at the time, but ultimately leading to things like, building relationships and trust among people throughout the community. But now, for my place here, it's been doing that on an international level in the last decade or so. So we got to know people with like the International Canoe Federation who were instrumental in being able to support this bold vision of actually having Olympic events in Oklahoma City. So I think it's for me, it was about, a lot of it has to do with just building those relationships and communicating a vision and then trying to deliver, following through and making sure what we do. And that's why I attribute a lot of the places that we are today, not just to me, but the team that we formed in so many different cases where we've had major events or unique initiatives that have, I think, grown a confidence among the international community about us being able to take on these big things. I mean, part of it is not having a long-standing tradition in water sports allowed us to kind of do things in our own way and maybe our own Oklahoma way of thinking. And we have I've heard Kathy had mentioned, there's this pioneering spirit, and really wanted to carry that through with what we've done at the river, doing things like being the only venue in the world to have stadium lights on a river. We know what Friday night lights are all about in football. Why not make it for rowing too? And then why not bring whitewater into downtown Oklahoma City, which at the time when I brought it up, people frankly thought it was a little crazy. But when you could see how well we had done some things on the river that were surprising, adding whitewater into the mix in a downtown area, it allowed us to be different. And I think that's been an important part of all of this, is that, we've done some amazing things in our city. We've committed to doing things at a high level throughout the city, thanks to MAPS. But what I think about the river and the whitewater is we've done something no one else has done. And so there's no other cities, downtowns in America that have committed to these forms of urban development with whitewater and the rowing facilities. I mean, that has become a differentiator. And so when we had opportunities that emerged that were surprising, like with Los Angeles and the Olympics, we were prepared. We were in the right spot that no one else was in. So
what was your reaction to that, hearing that the Olympics were coming to Oklahoma?
Well, to be honest, I've been working on it for about 7 years. So
the final yes, they are, the final yes that you got.
It was the worst secret to keep for many years. So it was a relief to actually be able to talk about it. But yeah, it all started many years ago, and just sharing a vision with LA that maybe they should consider bringing the Olympics to Middle America, considering the fact we had this venue that they did not have. So
we are also excited for that to happen. It's 3 years away, but the economic impact that will have, the leadership that you've taken to make all of this happen is phenomenal. And we wish you nothing but the best as you move forward, and best of luck as you do your speaking engagement coming up in 2 nights when you're on the panel for when people go listen to Bart Conner. And again, you can register if you'd like to go, creativeok.org. Mike Knopp, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time today.
This is going to be a great event, and I'm a creative ambassador and for Oklahoma. So, I mean, I'm just thrilled to be a part of it and helping this. And Bart's been a great friend of mine and supporter through the years as we've had to think outside the box and be creative in sports to do what we've done. So I think that's just a message that we look forward to sharing.
Yes. And you're also an Oklahoma change maker. So thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll be back after this break. Hello, everybody. We are going to get to some news now in Oklahoma and across the U.S. Dun, dun, dun. We always love to talk about the latest things happening here on Around the Block. Jacqueline's back with us right now. Jacqueline, if you didn't know this, loves plants. How many plants do you have in your house? Over 100, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I definitely had over 100. I will admit, in the last few months, I kind of did a redo clean out. What just decided no more with the excess.
No more
And
jungle life.
yeah, because it became too much because when I did such a good job that there were so many thriving that it became a bit overwhelming. But yeah,
Okay.
but I do love them.
I have 2.
Only 2.
One of which is dying. It's a cactus, and it's been dying forever. And I keep and
Okay.
it comes back, and it's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
dying, and then it's back again, and it's whatever. It just does its own thing. It's very dramatic. And then the other one I have is an orchid. My parents
Oh,
gave
okay.
it to me for a housewarming present in 2016, and I still have it, and it's only bloomed one more time. But it's so I try to keep it alive just because my parents gave it to me,
Hmm.
and it's alive. And I actually have a little like plant marker in it that says "I will survive."
That's so great. I love orchids, but those are really, I mean, I
So
admit
hard.
they're hard to keep alive.
Yeah. And so I recently saw this reel that said, "You're doing it all wrong." You know how they come in that bark?
Yes.
And it said, take them out, wash all the bark off the roots,
Okay.
put them in a glass container of water, and then put that inside the vase or the pot. So that's what I've
Okay.
done.
Yeah.
And so far, she likes it. Her little, dangly roots are turning
Uh-huh.
green again. And so we'll see. We'll see if she lives to see another day. But I bought that sign just because I thought it was hilarious that I will survive because
Mhm.
her pot was cracked. I mean, she's not looking the healthiest, but she's hanging on by a thread. So I'll take it. The reason I
Yeah.
asked about plants is because a lot of times people who like plants also love wildlife,
I know, yeah.
birds, things of that nature. Are you that way too?
I am. Protect all the critters and creatures in
Yes.
nature.
Yes.
I am one of those.
I know. And so I think that I'm the same way, obviously. I
Mhm.
think this next story is so unique. There is an osprey nesting on Stadium Light Pole, which disrupts the Minnesota high school fall sports season. So there is a pair of ospreys. You know, they mate for life. I think
Yeah.
that's awesome with birds. They've disrupted the fall sports season at this Minnesota high school by nesting on this light pole on the football field, and they're protected by law. So they can't just
Mhm.
go shoo, shoo, shoo. The birds forced the Apple Valley High School to switch to day games
I can't imagine.
to avoid harming them with the hot floodlights. They just can't turn that on, I guess, because
Yeah.
that would be illegal as it would be harming the bird.
Oh, wow.
So they've moved to daytime games. And that's different in and of itself. It's like when you go watch a football game, you expect it to be dark outside, Friday night lights, all
Right.
those things. But I
Yes.
guess it's like 4 p.m. game.
Well, everyone gets home for dinner, I guess, on time and just
Yeah.
makes the day easy. No
Yes.
late nights.
In fact, the school is now working with the Department of Natural Resources to
Mhm.
monitor the chicks, so they have that nest there too. They do plan to remove the nest, though, once the young ospreys fly off in about a week. So these babies is what we're talking about. When they learn how
Mhm.
to fly, they'll fly off, and then they will remove the nest. That way, maybe go back to their night games. So, but they do hope that also that the ospreys will return next year. It's kind of
Yeah.
it should be their new mascot.
Yeah, I hope they do return. I think it's really great they're building a new, just appropriately located nesting area for them, for that
Yes.
community.
And I also love giraffes. I love all
Ooh,
animals.
yeah.
Love giraffe. I mean, for the most part, sharks, meh, not my
No,
thing.
no.
But like, yeah, giraffes, so cool. I mean, what is that? What the neck? What?
I know.
It's
And
amazing.
when they are born, can't they walk like immediate,
Yeah.
like super quick? It just
Mhm.
blows my mind.
And zebras, they can run within an hour of being born. Probably the same thing for giraffes. But I don't know because they got that big old.
I know the
How
wonky
they
neck and
hold
those
our head
long
up.
legs.
So cute. But yeah, so this is fascinating as well to me. There are different species of giraffe in Africa. They used to think that they all belonged to a single species, but on Thursday, a task force of the International Union for Conservation of Nature identified northern, reticulated, Maasai, and southern giraffes as all separate species.
Wow.
So it's based on genetic studies and analytical differences that they've discovered. Each species faces unique threats and conservation needs because northern giraffes are the most endangered, with only about 7,000 left in the wild. Southern giraffes are the most populous, with about 69,000 individuals. So what all of this does, though, is to aim, get a better goal of conservation for
Mhm.
all of the different species, to learn about where they live, what are their main predators, what's the issue, what's killing them, how can we keep them alive. So pretty neat stuff.
It is. I think it's really cool, and I wonder about this. I know I brought it up when we talked about zebras a few weeks ago, but do we think all of their pattern is unique to them? No, no
I looked
pattern
it up.
alike. Is it?
I
What
looked
is
it
it?
up. It's like a fingerprint.
Oh,
It is,
cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we were talking about that last week with D'Anthony and zebras.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. So you looked up zebras or giraffe or both?
I just looked up zebras because I like zebras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet giraffe's the same. We'll find out.
So do we say, is it giraffe plural or giraffes plural? What do you think? Oh, look at that pattern. Wow.
Giraffe.
You say giraffe?
The giraffes.
The giraffes?
I don't
the
know.
giraffe?
I fell
I
on the
think it's
spot.
I was just saying giraffe. I don't know.
I'm
Who
not
knows?
sure.
Anyway, either one's correct because we're in Oklahoma and ain't nobody cares.
That's exactly right.
It's just like it is what it is, and it's cool. And also at the zoo is a mix between the giraffe and the zebra.
Oh,
Oh, what's it called?
is there really?
Yeah,
That's
it starts with
cool.
an O. It's like
I don't know.
okapi. It just came to me. Okapi.
Very cool.
It's like, yes, a mix between the giraffe family and a zebra, and it's my
Mhm.
kid's favorite animal at the zoo. It's called the
That's
okapi.
awesome.
It's right there by the giraffe, so you'll have to
Okay.
look next time you go.
I will.
Anyway, fun fact about giraffes. We now know there are 4 species. Dun, da, 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 the things you learn watching Around the Block,
I know.
as you should every day at 11 a.m. live weekdays. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 suit is set for auction.
Hmm.
So if you're a fan of Spider-Man, the suit that Tobey Maguire wore in Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 will be auctioned off September 4th. September
Wow.
4th. You got to be a diehard fan to want this, but I mean, hey, there are a lot of diehard Spider-Man fans out there.
Mhm.
What's interesting to me though is that on the auction page, the bidding will start at $50,000. It's estimated to sell anywhere between $100,000 to $200,000. I would think it would be more for a movie
I would too. But
costume. I mean, something that you're obviously going to put it on a mannequin in your house at least, or maybe frame it on
Yeah.
a wall. Who knows?
I guess. I don't know. Everyone has their collection. I did notice in the story that this particular costume is supposedly heavily damaged or heavily used.
Hmm.
And so they had to actually replace some of the parts on the costume, but
Yeah.
they did it with the molding from the original cast for the costume. So it's all very much Tobey Maguire body
Esque.
touched.
Yes.
For
So
anyone who
either you
likes
can,
him.
yes, you can either be a Tobey Maguire fan
Mhm.
and put that suit
Yeah.
on yourself. Oh, Tobey Maguire
know.
wore this.
Yeah.
Or, Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
And D'Anthony, you were laughing just a little bit ago. Why?
Because I'll wear it.
See,
would
I
wear it?
knew I feel like there's going to be some guy who's going to buy this
Yeah.
and is going to go home and have a moment, just him and himself. I am Spider-Man in this costume.
Do you think, let's say maximum 200,000, which was what they're projecting. Do you think that that's low? I mean, I would
Very
think,
low.
It
yeah, I
seems
think it would go
low.
higher.
I mean, it seems like a waste of money to me, but it does seem low. Like I would never pay that. But
right. Like they're starving children in Africa.
Right.
I'd rather give that money to. But like at the same time, it's like if you have the millions and millions and you do help
Yeah.
others, then why not? To some people, that's pocket change. What do you think, D'Anthony?
Oh, well, yeah. I think it's low. That's all I can
Mhm.
say. If I had the money, I'd be coming to work wearing it.
Oh my gosh, a
Halloween.
$200,000
I want to
suit.
see.
I mean, I might as well if I'm spending that much.
You
Yeah.
should totally get your wear out of it if you're spending that much.
Oh, but I'll damage it even more.
The other day we were talking about wedding cloaks for men.
Yeah.
D'Anthony loved it because it looked like Batman. If you got a black one, like a wedding
Mhm.
cloak. Apparently that's a new thing among celebrities. The men like to look all super duper fancy as well. And I said if you wore a black one, you'd look like a vampire. You said no, I'd look like Batman.
Or Darth Vader or
Ooh,
a vampire.
yeah.
Darth Vader for sure. I don't know why I didn't even think about that.
That'd be cool.
And I was still on board with the wedding cloaks. I just wanted to point out that I really like that idea.
So then D'Anthony, you just love dressing up?
No,
Wow.
I don't. But I just like I like doing
Different
stuff
things?
that's different. Like
Yeah.
the norm is like wearing a suit or a
Mhm.
tuxedo. I don't know, wedding attire for grooms, but a cloak is definitely out of the ordinary. So I'm all for it.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. To each their own. And so if you would like to bid on this Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 and 3 costume, the bidding starts September 4th. and at 1 p.m. Eastern time,
Hmm.
noon our time. So there you go. You got an extra $200,000 on you. That's what you could spend it on.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's the president doing now when it comes to the potential TikTok ban and sale. We'll talk about that. Plus, if you love things, if you love scuba diving or anything, finding Atlantis under the water, finding
Oh.
treasure under the water, we're going to tell you about a specific statue that's under the water and how it's being cleaned and preserved right after this break. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Around the Block. So, are you on TikTok, Jacqueline?
I am not.
I'm not either.
No.
D'Anthony is, though. I just got to assume because you're 23. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, a lot of people love it. A lot of people don't care. But, there's always been this thing where President Trump in his first term said, we need to sell it, or they need to sell it. ByteDance needs to sell it. It's a Chinese company. They're spying on us, all these things.
Mhm.
So now in his second term, he's delaying the ban by saying, yes, you still have to sell, but we're delaying this ban again, and we're delaying this ban again. And this comes at a time, they just delayed it for the third time, that the White House just opened their own TikTok account last week.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So they're sending the message, though, to ByteDance that they really don't have to sell.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep delaying it. Okay. Well, we don't have to sell then. But this is kind of a controversial thing. A lot of people have their feelings about it. I couldn't care less because I'm
I
not on
couldn't
it.
either, yeah.
So,
But D'Anthony and all of his generation that TikTok,
yeah,
you get to keep it
so far.
so far.
Yes, Congress approved a U.S. ban on TikTok unless its parent company ByteDance sold its controlling stake. But again, so far that has been extended 3 times now during this term, and the next extension should be September 17th if he decides to extend it again. But again, the White House just started their own TikTok account, so we'll see. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
Italian divers water blast. That's how you clean a statue underwater. You water blast it. Not something you would think about, but I guess that's all you can do. You water blast a popular underwater statue of Christ off Portofino to clean it. I love the story behind this. I've always been fascinated by like the abyss and any type of, the Titanic underwater, shipwrecks. I love this. If you've ever seen these, there is a culmination of different statues underwater, and this one is symbolic for people who have died at sea. So what the people are doing here, they are using pressurized water hoses to remove crustaceans from the Christ of the Abyss statue that was placed on the seabed off northern Italy in 1954 as a memorial to those who have died at sea. And it's about 8-foot tall bronze statue which depicts Christ with his hands raised in blessing. And I think that's just a beautiful thing.
It's really cool. I would love. So, do you know if can tourists go?
Oh
I
yeah,
guess scuba dive to this location.
sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's here. I said there were multiple somewhere. There are multiple
Mhm.
statues because I don't see any others around it. Multiple statues underwater. It could be Greece, where you can go down and see all the different things and what they commemorate, what they honor and memorialize as well. But this is just a neat thing. So it's not, where do they get that pressure, that underwater pressure? Obviously, you see that hose going up to a boat, but
Yeah.
I mean that's super cool.
It's very cool, and I am real appreciative that they're maintaining it. It's just not left to over time because water is very destructive
Yes.
in seawater. So this is really awesome.
Yes, it's considered a symbol of the sacrifice, by the way, of World War II. And it was made using the melted down metals of Italy's fallen soldiers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it stands about 300 yards off the beach at a depth of around 59 feet between the resort towns of Portofino and Camogli. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's Italian. So if you're ever over there and you want to scuba dive or even snorkel from the top and squint really hard, maybe you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
So I think that's super neat. Okay, next we're talking about are we on to the Medical Museum?
Yes.
Medical Museum in Philadelphia has a whole collection, like 6,500 artifacts, human organs, different parts belonging to humans. And they're saying now times have changed. They used to collect these back in the 1840 to 1940, and during autopsies, they would collect different body parts, organs, and so forth, because they said back then it was considered helpful in medical education. But now this medical museum in Philadelphia is redrawing its policies about collecting human remains because it says times have changed Ethical standards have changed. So it's called the Mutter Museum. It's announced it's limiting its acceptance of additional specimens and working to follow evolving modern medical ethical standards in handling their 6,500 remains in their collection. But what they're working to do too is, besides, can you imagine if that's like your loved one's
I was
skull
just
sitting
looking
there?
at those thinking, oh my goodness, this
Yeah,
whole room of
there's-
skulls on shelves.
And they're just, it's neat that they're on display, but they're kind of forgotten as a person. So
Yeah.
what the museum also wants to do is de-anonymize its collection by looking into the personal histories of those remains. That would be cool. You can say,
yeah, that's cool.
this skull belonged to John Smith. John
Mhm.
Smith had this condition, and this is what we were able to find by preserving his remains. I think
Yeah.
that is quite an honor and a tribute to the person whose body was donated to science.
It's very cool. And it also is interesting. I love that they had to send out a public service announcement saying, we are no longer accepting donations.
I know.
Like, I don't know. It makes me wonder because it dates back to, didn't you say 1940s?
1840.
1840s.
Yeah.
So I had the wild idea of, I wonder how many people just got here, and we never really know how
Mhm.
they ended up here. Just
Yeah.
the mystery of that.
Yeah, and not buried. Their heads
Not
right
buried,
there.
they're right there.
everybody to see.
Forever for us to see.
And when you look at that too, it just reminds you how fast life is.
Right,
To
yeah.
see a skull there, they were here for a short time. And
Mhm.
and I'm finding that out every year that flies by. It's like, wow, how am I as old as I am? I'm supposed to be 32. What happened?
Forever.
Forever. I know.
32.
I know. So anyway, super neat thing that they're doing. I love that they're going to be putting names to these
Mhm.
remains that they have there in their collection. Okay, half of Gen Z adults spend $0 on dating. Okay,
That's impressive.
that's very impressive, D'Anthony. Come on, buddy, it's your turn.
Yeah. Tell us
Um,
about this.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know anything about it.
But
well,
aren't you Gen Z? Or are you
Yeah,
younger
but
than
I was
that?
taught to spend money on my date.
there you go.
Yeah, tradition.
Take her out.
Traditional,
Take her out.
old fashioned.
Yeah.
I like it. I do believe that it being 2025, that women should say, "Would you like would you like to share it?" Whatever, or whatever. However you want it. It's so awkward when you get to that point.
It is so awkward.
But just kind of offer at least to
Mhm.
chip in or take care of it and see what they say. If they say, "Oh yeah, you can take care of it," then I'd be like, "Okay, last date. Here we go." But anyway, I think I like the traditional old-fashioned way, but I do think it's nice to offer.
Mhm.
But so basically, we're in a romantic recession. It's defined by the fact that Americans are becoming less sexually active, less likely to be married, and spending more time alone now than previous decades. It's a Bank of America survey that suggests that part of what's causing the downturn is that half of Gen Z adults are spending their money on everything except dating. The survey found that 53% of men and 54% of women didn't spend a dime on dates. In addition,
Oh.
41% cut back on dining out at all. Finally, 72% of Gen Z implemented measures to improve their financial health, and they looked at reducing expenses, financial support from parents and other families. Some are still receiving. So, yeah, they're focusing their money, putting that elsewhere. Good idea? Maybe get out of debt.
Do you think we're gonna see like a surge of late daters, late wedding? Like if they're just not dating,
They're just not dating.
they're just not dating.
Well, they're not lonely, apparently.
Yeah,
So they're doing fine on their own.
doing great at home, doing whatever they do by themselves.
What? Say it.
Uh,
What you got on your mind?
I showed this to my girlfriend, and she was like, "Okay, yeah, you shouldn't spend at all." Yeah. I'm like, so are we still on for like this weekend? Mm.
So
Oh.
she's
Peanut butter and jelly for everyone.
you can always find free things to do.
Yeah.
That's not hard to find free things to do.
Well, yeah, but like I like to joke around and be a jerk. So
Of course. Yeah. Well, your job is
Yeah.
to tease her. You do a great job at teasing. So we already know that about you. Okay, we're almost out of time. We're going to get really quickly to our National Bazaar holidays that people have actually registered. It is not National Orange or Lemon or Grape or Lime, whatever popsicle day. It's only National Cherry Popsicle Day.
The best flavor.
It really is. That and orange are my favorite, and followed by
Yes.
grape. I hate
Yeah.
lime. Go ahead. What we got next?
National Dog Day. Shout out to Franklin and your dog. What's-
Tulip.
Tulip.
Yes.
National Got checked day. Not
D'Anthony,
entirely sure what that
it's
is.
like you got checked, like knocked down, like
Oh,
checked, like
okay.
that.
Sure.
Is that what
Sure.
that is? Hurry up, we're out of time.
Yes.
Okay, so National Spark the World Day, National
Uh-huh.
Toilet Paper Day.
That
Wow.
one's great.
Brought to you by Charmin.
Yes.
National Web Mistress Day.
Yes. And National
that
Women's Equality Day. And I actually think today is the anniversary of women getting the right to vote, if I am correct.
Oh, okay.
So,
we got to
if
look
that's
that up. I
true,
mean, I
that's
don't know
very
why that
cool.
wouldn't be on there. Maybe because it's not bizarre. Hey, thank you for joining us here on Around the Block. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. We hope you all have a fantastic day, and our new news is next. Bye-bye.